Welcome to the Maze Runner. It's been a hot minute since I did a video, but here we are again. The movie begins in some crappy elevator with our main guy Thomas, but he doesn't know his name yet, so that can be used as a big reveal later. The elevator goes up and he panics like crazy, as we probably all would, but it goes faster and faster and doesn't seem to stop. It eventually does stop, but not before he shat himself. The hatch on top of the elevator opens and a lot of people are looking down at him, laughing their asses off at his expense. Thomas gets out of the elevator and panics because of the overstimulation of all the people talking around him, and he just starts running till he tripped over a rock and ripped his face off. Before he made the achievement touching grass for the first time in his life, you can hear people shouting, "We gotta run there!" Which gets explained in like 5 minutes movie time. After that, he gets sent to their baby prison because he did that running away thing, and then some guy named Albie, one of the only 2 black dudes in this movie, probably just heard the quota, gives him a tour of the glade. That's how they call this creepy piece of land inside the maze. Just for clarity's sake, some probably evil organization named Wicked put them into this maze to do some experimentation on those children. I don't know about that, because some of them look fairly old to me, except of course Thomas Brody Sangster, who just always looks like a child. But back to my point. Those people put them in the maze, thought to themselves the maze isn't enough to torture them, so they also put giant infested disgusting killing machines into the maze just to fuck with them. Then they made us all into the puzzle. I mean, who could have thought they are evil, as the name indicates that already. So, where were we? Ah yes, Abby is just talking about the basics and telling Thomas the rules till Abby suddenly doesn't want to talk to him anymore and lets Chuck, the little thick dude, take Thomas for the rest of the tour. Thomas is asking a lot of questions, and while Chuck is trying to answer all of them with just a safe and satisfying answer, he fucks up and tells Thomas that the huge opening on the wall isn't just an opening, it's the gate to another secret dimension, the Nether. Ha! No, but seriously, behind there is a huge maze that sparks Thomas' curiosity. He wants to get a closer look at the huge opening in the wall. I can't explain why he had to get so close. If you're not almost completely blind, you can see the same from standing in the opening as well as when you're standing on the other side of the glade. But before Thomas could go into the maze, some other dude saved him. His name is Gally. Thomas doesn't realize he got saved until all the boys are around him and the big door is closing. I think they put that part in just to make Gally unlikable, as there aren't any other clues as to why Thomas' curiosity led him into the maze. We get to later the day where they organize a campfire just for Thomas, as they do for the newcomers every month, but it's not important as to why they do it. Thomas talks to Newt, the one dude I talked about earlier with the curly hair, and he sacrificed himself to answering some of those questions. After Newt tells him to fuck off, he fights with Gally, where he finally remembers his name after getting thrown to the ground so hard he should have gotten a concussion. But anyways, remembering your name is something amazing in this universe, at least in the current situation, because that's the only memory they let you keep. So they all share his name. But like every good thing, it cannot last long. So the campfire got interrupted after they heard one of the monsters in the maze scream. The Grievers, as they call them. The next day, Abby wakes him up in a scary way, but he just wants Thomas to know that he's different.
Thomas, you're different than the others. You've been here for 24 seconds and I haven't seen you blink once. You just have to be an alien.
How does it even make sense? But thanks, I guess.
And I mean, you never sneezed in all those 3 moves. That's kind of suspicious, isn't it?
How do you even know? Anyways, Albie lets Thomas carve his own name into the wall because he's one of them now. After that, we see a montage of the gang working, and Thomas, as he's just a curious fella, is still asking a lot of questions about whether they tried to escape or not. But Newt interrupts him, telling him they tried everything. After the next cut, Newt sends him to get dung, or fertilizer as they call it in the movie, from the forest. I don't know exactly what he was supposed to get, but he finds the right location and some dead bodies and some kind of shrine. Probably their graveyard for all the kinds of creatures. The movie tells us that it's probably the first time he has to go into the forest, because he just doesn't know where to go. While inspecting the aforementioned shrine, he notices that behind him is one of the 2 runners we saw in the first day coming out of the maze. His name is Ben and he's crazy for it. Ben attacks Thomas and he can barely escape. He runs back to the open space, back to Newt, who then knocks Ben out. All the dudes gather around Ben, Thomas and Newt, and it then turns out Ben got stung by the Grievers at daytime, which hasn't happened before. Now Ben has to get banished into the maze because he broke one of the core rules. He broke the double dipping rule. The biggest of the cardinal sins. But on a serious note, he really has to get banished before he attacked another glader. That's just unacceptable. Abby asks Thomas why he attacked him, and all he said was, "It's your fault." They all just ignore and they all agree that it's just crazy talk. So Ben gets banished right as the gate closes. He obviously fought against his banishment, but there wasn't anything he could have done. The next day, Abby and the other runner, Romino, I haven't talked about him because he wasn't important for the story yet, It's the only Asian dude in this movie, again, probably because of the quotas, nothing more to say about him. They went out into the maze looking for Ben, and I don't know why it's so important to go into the maze, as both of them know the secret of the maze. A whole day passes and they haven't returned yet, but right as the gate is closing, they turn the corner as that is the best time for the movie's sakes, but you already know they are just too late. By the looks of it, Albie got hurt, and that's the reason why they couldn't make it in time. He has the same injury as Ben, so he probably got stung by a griever. I need to get something off before explaining the movie any further. How is it even possible that two people got stung, or how people in general get stung in this maze? I explain the maze scene in a moment, and if you know the movie, you know they get chased by the grievers like its life depends on it. It also seems like the griever doesn't just want to sting Thomas as it chases him, but I could be wrong. Please correct me on this if I'm wrong. Thomas's brain just short-circuited and he squeezed himself into the maze between the closing door, which should have clearly squished him by the time it took him to get through there. But this movie is rated PG-13, so you had to make it, otherwise the movie would have been pretty short. Well, now 3 people are stuck in the maze and it's beginning to get dark. It's unconscious Albie, Mino and Thomas. Mino wanted to leave the unconscious Albie just where he collapsed a second ago, but Thomas convinces him to take Albie with them to hide him somewhere, for they can't leave him, he will get killed almost instantly. There it is again, they kill him, so why do they sting him first if they come back and kill him anyway? After running around a bit, Thomas finds a good spot to hide him, which is not really feasible or even possible. They hung his body into some ivy at the side of one of the maze's walls. It looks like they had to climb halfway to the top just to secure him there, which is like possible but takes forever. And they also had to get the ivy first to tie around Albie and put it up there, and then of course had to get Albie up too. Well, anyways, it apparently is that easy, but just as they have him almost where Thomas wants to have him, Mino runs away, as he got too scared to stay. Thomas has to hide in the ivy below the wall and a convenient hole, to not get seen by the griever Mino was so scared about. He then finishes securing Albie up there after the noises the griever made are gone. But those machines are apparently pretty smart and knew he was hiding under there. This thing just outplayed him, making Thomas think it's gone, but it just stopped making noise. How? Imagination! After the griever played the biggest Uno reverse in his life, it's time for running away from grievers in this maze, until they get the chance to kill one by Thomas's idea to squeeze it in the changing maze's wall. For the dramatic effect, they film the next cut from within the maze looking towards where the wall is opening, and for even more dramatic effect, they aren't yet at the door, just to make the gladiator think they didn't survive, but now it's Thomas's move to play the Uno reverse. The 3 guys cut the corner just as everyone lost the hope of them returning, but they are the main characters, so of course they are getting out and obviously surviving the night. But now Thomas has to suffer the consequences of his own actions. Gelly wants to see him behind bars, locked up and never to see the light of day ever again. But the other dudes actually like what Thomas has done and he want to reward him for doing it. Breaking the rules is fun, yeah! While they discuss what to do with him, they hear the alarm of the box, which shouldn't be the case because Thomas is the new one and just arrived a few days ago. They open it and it turns out to be a girl. So it's the first time there's a girl, and this girl has a note on her end saying that she is the last one to ever come up. She wakes up just saying Thomas's name and falling back to her coma. Gay was suspicious about him before, but now he's extra suspicious about him. I mean, he wouldn't after what just happened. Thomas and Mino get together a team to go into the maze to take apart the griever, to look for any clues to help them find a way out of there, as they haven't found a way out the last 3 years they lived there. And it couldn't be a bad idea to do that. I mean, it's definitely a bad idea, as 2 people got stung at daylight just the last 2 days. But, well, they actually find something that raises their suspicion that it could be something they could need. They showed this little metal sausage they got off the griever's body to Gelly and Newt. Gelly isn't thrilled about what Thomas tells them, but Newt is pretty excited about it. Newt gives Thomas one night in baby prison again, then makes Thomas a runner, and Gelly furiously leaves the house, as he thinks this punishment isn't enough. He's not wrong though, Thomas did break a rule too, but luckily he didn't break the double dipping rule as Ben did. Mino shows Thomas a secret chat where the model of the entire maze is and explains to Thomas how the maze works. Mino said that the other parts are changing every night in a fixed pattern, so that is the only thing that can change because it's only doors that are opening and closing, we say there in the movie. We saw that the maze is changing a lot every night and you can even hear it, but it's a static model, so I'm thinking they just didn't model the moving walls and just put down the static ones. After Mino is revealing the big secret behind the maze to Thomas, 2 dudes come running to the shed and telling them that the girl woke up. They all run towards the glade and after getting bombarded with stuff that shouldn't be on the lookout tower, like way too much food and stones. Thomas tells her his name again,
Hey, whoa, it's Thomas! It's Thomas!
So he can climb up and talk to the girl alone. Turns out they do know each other, but can only really remember each in their dreams. But I can't really remember any detail as to why they have this connection. After talking for a bit and trading names, the girl's name is Teresa, and she had some blue stuff in her pants when she came up. I don't know how nobody checked, as they checked her hand and had to at least carry her to where she slept, but maybe they were scared. Thomas has the idea to give the blue stuff with the name Wicked printed on it to Albie, who is still suffering from the sting. I mean, it can't get worse, so they try to inject Albie with it. He also says it's Thomas's fault, but they eventually made it and he is visibly better already. Just after that, Gelly comes in and escorts Thomas to his prison time. At night, Chuck comes to him, gives him food, and they have a little sentimental talk about Chuck's parents and the gift he made for them. The next morning, Thomas and Mino go into the maze to the section where they suspect the one Griever came from. The one that Thomas killed, as they got the hint from the number on the metal sausage. They go to where the number points them, and it turns out that part is open, which shouldn't be the case, as the order of the numbers on the gate and which one is open is always the same. After they walked a bit in that section, the sausage begins clicking, and they follow its direction by following the ever faster clicking sound. It leads them to a big room that just looks like a boss room, which Mino hasn't seen yet. They get to the end of the room and the walls just open, revealing a huge opening where there is just Griever slime all over it. From within is a laser scanning them. I don't know why they scan them now, as there isn't a laser when they go there a second time, and the whole area just starts to close up completely, as it probably should have been. Thomas and Mino have to return to get back into the maze in time before they will be closed out for the next cycle. While the whole section collapses, all the falling shit and all the stuff happening, it leaves a lot of damage everywhere. But when they go there the next day, there's no damage whatsoever, and the gates are all open again. I googled and there isn't any logical explanation for that. So imagination. I don't know what kind of safety mechanism they triggered, as it doesn't seem to be natural for the maze to do that. When they get back, there are a few dudes waiting for them, as they heard all the loud noises out in the maze. Gelly and Thomas have a heated argument, but it gets interrupted when Teresa tells them that Albie is awake. Albie still tells Thomas the same as before, that he knows him and he shouldn't be here. While talking to them, they notice a lot of commotion going on out of the gate. When they got out, they notice that the gate hasn't closed, and actually the 3 other gates open up as well. Thomas gives some order to the people around him, and you hear distant screaming because Grievers came through those gates and starting killing the Graders. They all try to hide somewhere, some with more luck and some with less, or they try to fight against the Grievers. At the end of the Griever attack, Albie is getting killed by them, and actually they just leave after that. Gelly comes over, punches Thomas in the face, also telling him that it's his fault, and Thomas' natural reaction to that is to sting himself with one of the Grievers' thingies, because he has to know the truth. When he wakes up, he's in prison, with Teresa and the gang gathered around him. They make a plan on how to escape Gelly, and they actually manage to do it. Gelly wanted to sacrifice Thomas and Teresa to the Grievers, but Gelly didn't think that people would stand by Thomas. So now they're running as a huge group with almost all of the Graders except the few that were loyal to Gelly through the maze. And like I said, they come to number 7 and it's open again, and there isn't any damage whatsoever. Group gets to the place where Mino and Thomas were earlier, but now there's a Griever guarding the exit. Thomas gives a depressing speech to the group. Escape or die trying? I mean, he could have spared the last part, it was totally fine without it. Well, they managed to overrun the one Griever, dodging the surprise attacks from the other ones, with some close calls to the metal sausages, and Chuck almost falling to his demise and dooming the Gladers, but they actually got out. When they got out, the thing Thomas said turned out to be true. They were watching them all this time. Thomas triggers an automatic video and it starts playing, telling them they are special and everything they went through was just an experiment to find a cure for some disease they obviously never heard of, because their memories just got deleted. And then, right when they are about to leave, Gelly just randomly stands behind them, telling them that they cannot leave, as the maze is their home. I don't know how he managed to get out. Sure, he got stung, but that doesn't mean he has anything he could need to get out. Gelly didn't have the combination to the lock, nor did he have to know where to go unless he followed them. But even then, he was missing the other 2 things. After Gelly kills Chuck, because he saved Thomas's life, and Mino supposedly kills Gelly, they get picked up by what seems like soldiers, so they get transported to a safe place. So, the movie ends with the monologue from the woman from the video who supposedly killed herself, but didn't, and them flying towards a destroyed city.